Alrighty guys, it is the month of July and that means it is time for yet another memory tier list. There's a lot to go through this month, so let's get right into it. Before we get any further, please flash like buttons for content and let's go. Big this tier list now that like it doesn't even cover the whole screen anymore. You need to like scroll down, right? But we've got a few as you can see here. We'll start with Gold Rush, which was released as like a map event one, I think, like some free to play one. Yeah, so this memory, it increases own break damage by 20% for 2 turns, and then if it's a blue character, an extra 10, and then so on and so forth for the higher rarity version. It's like it goes up to 50, right? So I guess like as a base thing, 50% isn't too bad if you're using a guy that's like breaking, right? Or like I know Team Ghetto can break, Mojito, guys like that, right? So that maybe could find a bit of use, but I don't see you using this over say like just break damage support and then like a damage memory, right? So there's a lot of ways you can work around it, right? Where you don't really need the memory of it, right? So I think this memory is an easy mid tier. I think it's bad or anything, but you don't really need it in my opinion. Unless we have the price for applauding, okay? This was the free to play one from the Meme event. I don't know why this one says standard. I swear that one was free to play, but anyway, right? This memory, it increases own crit rate by 6% for 2 turns on a command skill, and then when a crit is performed, increases its own damage dealt by 10% for 2 turns one time. Low key, bro. That actually sounds alright to me. Like, I get like there's probably other crit rate ones like that, the Nami and Ino one, but I think for a free memory, crit rate by 60 is actually really decent considering like some guys like really do thrive off crits. Like say for example, any Nanami out there, because how back flashes work, in case you forgot, is it's an extra multiplier on top of the critting, right? So if you're critting more, you know, mathematically, you will be back flashing more, right? So I think this is actually a pretty decent memory for a free to play, right? So I think this one, seeing that really solid is like, has a whole bunch in it already, I'm happy putting it there, to be honest. I think it's decent for what it is as a free memory. That's fine for me. Alright, next we have Defeat Cursed Spirits and Rescue Non-Sorcerers. This was one of the Shibuya ones that came out with whoever came out recently, like Mei or whatever, right? But this one has Gojo and you know, fighting Hanami and Jogo. Very cool memory. I want more Shibuya Gojo content. That'll be sick. But anyway, low key, they could do that for second anime. I just realized. I hope not. Let's like, you know, leave Gojo alone for a little bit, but we'll see what happens, right? But anyway, as for the abilities, when a command skill or alt skill is activated, decreases the value of 2 allies debuffs by 10%, and then increases all allies Jujutsu stat by 25%. And then at the start of battle, it would also reduce the character's own damage received by 10% for Jujutsu. I think it's okay. Like the 2-turn 25% buff is actually pretty nice. You know, for a whole team buff lasting 2 turns. Like really only like 1 attack though, like from the turn after, but still I think it's actually pretty alright. And on top of that, you get some debuff stuff too, which honestly I don't really find much use in that, because a lot of the time you can't remove the debuffs. Like for example, like Shoko has that ability, but it's not that important, right? It's more the healing and the damage, right? So I think this memory again isn't anything too bad, but it's not crazy either. I think mid tier is perfectly fine for that memory. We have Siblings Vacation next, and bro, if you guys have seen the manga of Meme and Wee, bro, I don't know what kind of stuff Meme is on, but hey, I don't know, bro. Huh? This will be when alt skills active. This is on the standard pool, and then when alt skills activated, increases own damage up by 9% for 1 turn for red attacks, right? And then if own HP is 70% or lower, it will also fill the alt gauge by 200 and recover 20% HP. So I think a 90% damage dealt increase is very nice for red, but you got to remember that damage dealt is not the best like multiplier in the game. The highest ones you want are going to be like the curse technique or the physical technique. So if you use say like she's physical, like-minded sisters, you'd probably hit higher on like-minded sisters still. It just depends, right? And you know, like this memory, it's still good for what it is, but damage dealt is not always the best multiplier, so it's probably not the best option to use unless you have it like max dupe or something. But I guess it does give good stats though. So as you can see here, it's got like, you know, 47.6% taijutsu, which is very nice, right? So I think for that reason, it's a pretty damn good memory. Like it's still a good multiplier, so I think really solid is fair for it. I don't think, you know, it's anything crazy, but it's, you know, still great damage. And 90 is a bit hard to come by. I think like my sister's caps out at 80 or 75, something like that. So it is like a higher percent multiplier though. Probably gonna do a bit less damage, but I'm sure you boys see the vision. We have Who is Tycoon next, right? They're playing like whatever, right? But we've got Gojo, Geto, and Shoko. This was a free one for the story event, right? So this memory is going to be when a command skill or is activated, increase own jutsu stat by 40% one turn, recovers 10% HP, and recovers 5 curse energy. And then on top of that, from the 4th turn, it'll increase own stat by 30% for jujutsu, which is a 50% chance, which is kind of weird. So I guess every turn it can do 30, but it doesn't stack though. So it's just an extra 30 that you could get every turn, right? And then also recover HP by 10% and recover own curse energy by 5. So, well, I guess it's like a second buff almost. So, say you get like, I don't know, the 50% roll on, you know, the main skill, and then on turn 4 you get it again. I guess you can get up to 10 curse energy back a turn, which is pretty alright, right? For a free one, again, this is alright. Like, even here when you know, use a command skill, and then you can get up to 70% jujutsu as well, which will be helpful for guys like, you know, Nobara, for example, who kind of do the most damage off their, you know, their 3rd skill, not their ult, right? So I think you could actually find some use in this memory. I'm sure there's like better paid options, right? But it's free, so you gotta keep that in mind. I think this one's gonna be in top of mid. I think I don't mind it at all. W memory in my opinion. And next we have the Blue Spring set off the firework. First of all, bro, let's appreciate this artwork. I love the little like crackler, sparkler effect they've got. It looks really nice, right? But I swear this was just on JP, and it's already on Globe, which is kind of crazy to me. But you know, we're almost synced now, so you know it makes sense, right? But as for what it does, it's gonna be on a command skill or ult skill, increase all allies damage up by 5%, and then if it's on a hit inventory unit, it'll do an extra damage up by 10% for all allies, right? Which I guess is like okay, but I'd rather just again use a buffer and you're doing more anyway, right? It's just additional stuff that doesn't really feel that high at all, so I'd probably avoid this memory. And here as well, at the start of battle, recover 5 curse energy, and then it'll recover an additional 15, which is actually pretty good. So I guess if you want a curse energy rush for whatever reason, could be an option, you know. But again, I don't think it's anything crazy, so I think this is going to go mid tier as well. Probably the bottom of mid, I think, around there, yeah. Alright, last but not least, we have the Wish Summer Would Never End, alright. We got Amanai, I think her name was, and Gojo and Geto. This one's really good, right? So this came out with Gojo, obviously, and this one's going to be on ult, you know, on the ult skill. Increase 45% one turn one time for Jujutsu stat, which is the multiplier, right? And then if it's a green unit, an extra 50. So you're getting 95%, right? Which is, I think it's crazy, right? I get it's after 6 turns, but you know, with Green Gojo, you're not ulting until after turn 6 anyway, right? So this is a great memory. Gojo's best nuke memory by far, I think. And then in case, you know, you want anything extra, you get 150 ult gauge at the start of battle, and then every 5 turns you get it again, right? Which I think is actually amazing, bro. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory. This memory's right in God tier, bro. Can't lie, that's really good. So that's the tier list for July. We had a few updates, but bro, maybe August will be the final one where we're not synced. Hey, let that sink in, boys. That's kind of crazy, isn't it? So like, bro, Phantom Pad has been a interesting journey so far, but that's it all for today's video. If you boys enjoyed, be sure to black flash like bunch of content, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.